Chapter 1. An Espresso and a Slap. The biggest mistake Leo Vance ever made was ordering that espresso. He was tucked into a corner of the coffee shop, typing away on his laptop, when a cloud of expensive perfume washed over him. A split second later, thwack! His small cup was snatched from the table by a hand tipped with glossy black nails. Gross, the woman said, downing his espresso in one shot, her face scrunching up in disgust. Not enough sugar. Leo's mouth hung open. His gaze drifted from the corner of her lips, now stained with coffee, up to her slightly upturned eyes. They were beautiful, if they weren't shooting daggers at him. What are you looking at? She slammed the empty ceramic cup back down in front of him. You get up. Before Leo could process, she grabbed his arm and hauled him to his feet. She leaned in, her voice a low hiss. Pretend you're my boyfriend. 5 minutes. Just then, a man in a tailored suit burst through the door. The woman immediately wrapped her arms around Leo's neck, her voice turning sickeningly sweet. Honey, the coffee here is just awful. Leo went rigid, feeling the suit's gaze sweep over him like a laser. Sell it a little, the woman hissed, digging her nails into the small of his back. Then her voice shot up, ringing through the cafe. What? You've been seeing your ex-girlfriend behind my back. Wait, I'm not. Crack. A stinging heat exploded across Leo's left cheek. He stood there, completely stunned. The woman grabbed his glass of water from the table and threw it in his face. We're done. The man in the suit walked out, a satisfied smirk on his face. The woman's expression instantly reverted to ice. She pulled a crisp $50 bill from her wallet and slapped it on the table. Your acting sucks. This is for your emotional distress. Leo touched his throbbing cheek and managed to choke out. That was my water. She glanced back over her shoulder, one perfect eyebrow arched. And you wanted to throw another one? Chapter 2. A Match Made in Hell. Leo was rubbing his temples in the company elevator, exhausted from a sleepless night thanks to the coffee bandit. Ding! The doors opened, and Brenda from HR poked her head in. Leo, the new director gets here in 10 minutes. Get the conference room ready now. He was frantically hauling binders and setting up the projector when he heard the sound of heels clicking on the polished floor, sharp, fast, and full of murderous intent. Whose train wreck is this report? It's like you crunched the numbers with a sledgehammer, a woman's voice snapped. Leo looked up. His coffee mug slipped from his hand and crashed to the floor. Black power suit, blood-red lipstick, eyes like cut glass. It was the woman who'd slapped him yesterday. She squinted at him for 2 long seconds, and then a slow, cruel smile spread across her face. Oh, the punching bag. The entire office fell silent. A co-worker whispered, You know the new director, Ava Sinclair? Leo swallowed. You could say that. Eva slapped the report against his chest. Redo it. On my desk by in a day. His co-worker gave him a pitying look. You're toast. I heard she ran through 3 assistants at her last firm. Leo stared at the giant X she'd drawn across his work in red ink. The world went dark. The following week was the most brutal of Leo's professional life. His proposals were rejected 20 times, with Ava's comments ranging from, This paragraph made me want to take a long nap in traffic, to Did a cat walk across your keyboard to write this? When he was working late one night, she tossed a bag of flaming hot Cheetos on his desk. Don't die here. The company's life insurance policy is terrible. He secretly changed her contact name in his phone to Cerberus. She called him. Change it to Goddess. But one night, deep past midnight, Leo saw that Ava was the only one left in the office. She was staring at her computer screen, her fingers trembling. He worked up the courage to place a coffee on her desk. No sugar. Ava's head snapped up, her eyes red-rimmed. Who told you to? I know. I'll get out, Leo said, turning to leave. But he heard a whisper-thin voice behind him. Thanks. The next day, Leo saw Ava in the stairwell, snarling into her phone. I told you I'm not going back. What right does he have? She hung up and slammed her fist into the wall, then froze when she saw Leo standing there, holding a stack of files. Eavesdropping, she sneered. Came to watch the freak show? Leo silently held out a small box of Band-Aids. Your hand, it's bleeding. They're strawberry pattern, he added sheepishly. My little sister insisted I take them. Childish, she grumbled, but snatched the box from him. As she turned away, the corner of her mouth twitched upwards. At a company team building event, they played board games. Eva won 10 straight rounds, forcing her vanquished opponents to take shots. When it was Leo's turn, she raised an eyebrow. Forfeit now, and I'll go easy on you. He took a deep breath. I'll take the dare. A wicked grin spread across Ava's face. Go to that table over there and tell them I'm your company's most loyal lapdog. Leo walked over, resigned to his fate, only to see it was the team from their biggest client. He managed to squeak out, Hi, I'm your company's most loyal fan. The room erupted in laughter. Eva laughed so hard she stumbled and fell against Leo. He caught her, his heart hammering against his ribs as he breathed in the gardenia scent of her hair. Chapter 3. The Unwanted Roommate. Leo stared at Ava Sinclair, who was standing soaking wet in his doorway, and figured he had to be hallucinating. What are you looking at? She kicked his stray sneaker out of her way. Bathroom. Rainwater dripped from the ends of her hair onto his floor. The hem of her black trench coat was opened just enough to reveal the corner of her pajamas, covered in a pattern of snarling dinosaurs. Leo's eyes lingered on their bare teeth for a second, and he suddenly understood the concept of dressing for the job you want. My condo's being fumigated. She cut him off impatiently. The company said it'll take at least a week. Leo finally noticed the suitcase she was dragging, its surface covered in the scars of a dozen baggage handlers. It looked a lot like his immediate future. So you're going to stay here, she said, her tone leaving no room for argument. Her eyes swept across his apartment in disgust. Though this place is smaller than my master bath. Leo looked around his 430-square-foot studio, the couch piled with shirts waiting to be washed, the coffee table hosting a half-eaten bowl of ramen. Ava's stiletto heel was now planted firmly on his favorite collector's edition graphic novel. That's kind of expensive, he protested weakly. It's my doormat now. She kicked off her other shoe, which sailed past his head. Lead the way. Bathroom. As the shower started running, the gravity of the situation hit Leo. The rent check he'd just written might end up being a down payment on his own funeral. The next morning, Leo was jolted awake by a sharp elbow to the ribs. You snore. Eva hissed, wrapped in the blanket she'd stolen from him, only her murderous eyes visible. I'm on a couch, he mumbled, rubbing his side. I can't hear you through the wall. She grabbed a pillow and smothered his face with it. One more peep, and I'll neuter you. When Leo, sporting 2 new dark circles under his eyes, went to make breakfast, he found the last carton of milk was empty. A post-it note was stuck to the side, her handwriting a chaotic scrawl. Tastes like chalk. Get oat milk next time. The barista blend. She monopolized the TV, binge-watching a gory forensic procedural, only to get so scared she dumped the entire bowl of popcorn on his head. His prized collection of figurines was deemed ugly clutter and shoved into a drawer. Late one night, a loud bang came from the kitchen. Ava tried to make instant ramen and had somehow burned a hole straight through the bottom of his pot. How have you managed to stay alive this long? Leo asked, holding a fire extinguisher, completely dumbfounded. She tossed a credit card at him. Shut up and buy a new one. The night a massive thunderstorm rolled through Chicago, Leo was woken by a deafening clap of thunder. A flash of lightning illuminated the living room, revealing a small, huddled figure on the couch. Eva, go back to sleep. Her voice was shaking. Another crack of thunder shook the building, followed by the dull thud of something hitting the floor. He rushed out to see Eva standing barefoot next to a shattered glass, a dark line of blood welling up on her finger. Don't turn on the light, she shrieked. Lightning flashed again, revealing her pale, tear-streaked face. In that instant, he remembered the office gossip. Director Sinclair never traveled on days with bad weather. He slowly crouched down and, through the blanket she was wrapped in, took hold of her ice-cold ankle. The floor's cold. She tried to pull away but couldn't. Finally, she gave up, burying her face in her knees. You tell anyone, and they're dead. Outside, the storm raged. Leo sat on the floor, counting her steadying breaths until the sun came up. On day 5 of their cohabitation, Leo found a pink hair tie in the bathroom. This? What? Ava glared at him through the mirror. I'm not allowed to shed, but it's, say the words girly or cute, and I will end you. That evening, Leo accidentally wore the hair tie on his wrist. Eva stared at the flash of pink for a full 10 minutes before dumping her entire portion of Szechuan chicken into his bowl. Hope you choke on the spice, she said, but the tips of her ears were bright red. When he came down with a bad cold, A box of Dayquil mysteriously appeared on his nightstand with a note. Take this. Now, when she came home late from work, she found a thermos on the coffee table with a note. Heat your damn dinner. One morning, Leo woke up to find an extra blanket draped over him and Ava in the kitchen, drinking coffee from his favorite mug. What? She asked defensively. I already drank from that. So she deliberately took another sip, looking him right in the eye. Want me to sanitize it for you? On Saturday morning, the doorbell rang. Leo opened it to find a perfectly coiffed middle-aged woman. Where's Ava? The woman demanded, pushing past him. She won't answer her phone. It's so her voice died. Ava had just walked out of the bedroom wearing one of Leo's old t-shirts, the hem barely covering the tops of her thighs. So this is proof of your little rebellion? The woman sneered. Living with this, she looked Leo up and down. Charity case? Ava exploded. He's better than all of you put together. Better enough to live in this dump. The woman threw an embossed invitation onto the table. Julian Croft gets back from London next week. You'd better. Leo suddenly took a step forward. Ma'am, your shoes. He pointed at the designer heels digging into his area rug. The woman froze. It's wool, he said calmly. Your daughter would be upset if you got it dirty. Ava whipped her head around to look at him, and for a second something flickered in her eyes. After the door slammed shut, Leo saw the invitation was crushed in her fist. The gilded C of the Croft family crest was twisted like a scar. Chapter 4. Rules of Engagement. At 3 in the morning, Leo was kicked clean off the couch. I'm having an allergic reaction, Ava announced, standing over him and holding up a slightly reddened arm. To what? Poverty, she said, grabbing his collar and dragging him toward the bedroom. We're switching. 5 minutes later, Leo was curled up on the very edge of the queen-size bed. A demonic whisper came from behind him. Cross the center line and you lose a hand. He turned to see she'd drawn a line down the middle of the sheet with her reddest lipstick. It looked like a crime scene. In the middle of the night, Leo woke up freezing, only to find Ava had rolled herself into a burrito with all the blankets and was hugging his pillow for good measure. He tried to retrieve the pillow and was rewarded with a reflexive punch to the nose. The next morning, Eva looked at his dark circles. Did you go out robbing banks last night? Leo silently took a picture of her sleeping, a tiny string of drool at the corner of her mouth, and set it as his phone's wallpaper. She found it 3 days later and chased him around the entire apartment complex. That weekend, Eva declared she was going to improve their diet. Leo's kitchen was declared a disaster zone. The recipe says salt to taste, she said, frowning at a skillet. That means just a pinch. The next thing Leo knew, the entire carton of Morton's salt avalanched into the pan, burying 2 prime-cut steaks. She tried to deglaze a pan with a bottle of Cabernet, but poured the entire $200 bottle into a pot of egg drop soup. When an egg exploded in the microwave, her first instinct was to shove his head into her chest to shield him. The fire alarm blared through the building as their elderly neighbor pounded on the door, screaming. Eva just threw a wad of cash at him. For your troubles. Later, as Leo stared at the blackened kitchen, he noticed a smudge of ketchup on her cheek. On pure impulse, he reached out. What are you doing? She snapped, recoiling. There's a spider. Oh, where? She instantly leaped onto him, wrapping her legs around his waist like a panicked koala. When the building's superintendent came to fix the smoke detector, he was greeted by the sight of Leo with an Ava-shaped backpack, both of them smelling vaguely of burnt sugar. Forced to go grocery shopping together, Eva drove the cart like a battering ram. Move, she yelled, charging toward the sales section and knocking over 3 displays of canned goods. As Leo frantically bowed and apologized to shoppers, he turned to see her wrestling with a grandmother over the last carton of discounted organic strawberries. She secretly stuck a post-it note that read, "I'm with stupid," on his back, only for the store's PA system to announce, "Will a gentleman named Leo please come to the customer service desk? Your guardian is looking for you." As revenge, Leo tried to push her through the checkout lane while she was still in the cart, getting them hopelessly stuck. On the way home, a sudden downpour forced them under a bus shelter. Eva abruptly shoved her ice cream cone in his face. Did you forget the first bite rule? Leo licked the smudge of vanilla from his lip, watching as her face turned a shade of crimson. Your heart's beating really fast. That's because you're infuriating. By the time Leo realized the lock on the bathroom door was broken, it was too late. Turn around. Eva yelled from the tub, throwing a rubber duck at him. Look back and I'll gouge your eyes out. Leo faced the wall, listening to the splashing behind him. Suddenly, she cried out. He spun around instinctively and saw her sprawled on the floor, a mountain of bubble bath strategically covering everything important. They stared at each other for 3 seconds before she grabbed a bottle of body wash. Close your eyes. The bottle slipped, squirting its entire contents directly onto his head. The final 2 people covered head to toe in foam, sitting in a puddle on the bathroom floor. Ava suddenly burst out laughing. We look like a pair of frosted cupcakes. That night on the couch, Leo got a text. Buy a non-slip mat tomorrow. Tell anyone about this, and you will disappear. It was followed by a grinning demon emoji. The night Eva came home drunk from a work dinner, Leo witnessed a true spectacle. Giddy up, she yelled, riding piggyback and yanking on his ears. To Mars, my noble steed. This is the elevator. Even better, a space elevator. She insisted on naming his goldfish Leo Jr. because it was just as dumb. She slapped a hydrating face mask on him, declaring it was essential mount maintenance. She raided the fridge looking for a hangover cure and ended up hugging a large jar of his homemade pickles. Weeping, why did you get so small? The next morning, a hungover Eva discovered a new video on her phone. Her serenading a mop while belting out Celine Dion's My Heart Will Go On. And Leo's contact name had been mysteriously changed to Best Steed in the Universe. Chapter 5. The Coming Storm. The moment Leo pushed open the door to his apartment, he heard an unfamiliar man's voice. Ava, darling, 3 years and you're still so, the man chuckled. Predictable. Ava's voice was ice. Get out. Leo strode into the living room and saw a man in an impeccable designer suit lounging on his couch, casually toying with Ava's coffee mug, the one Leo had given her for a birthday, emblazoned with the words, "World's #1 pain in the ass." The man looked up, his gaze lingering on Leo for a moment before his lips curled into a dismissive smirk. So this is where you're living now? With this, Ava snatched the TV remote off the coffee table and hurled it at him. Julian Croft, I dare you to say that again. The remote flew past the man's head and shattered against the wall, sending batteries flying. Julian calmly straightened his cuffs. Temper, temper. No wonder your mother asked me to come check on you. It clicked for Leo. This was the Julian Croft from London, the arranged marriage candidate Ava's mother had mentioned. He took a step forward, positioning himself in front of Eva. Sir, breaking and entering is illegal. Julian arched an eyebrow, as if just noticing him. And you are? Her roommate, Ava snapped. Oh. Julian's smile was loaded with insinuation. Perfect. Saves me the trouble. He pulled a gold-leafed invitation from his suit jacket and tossed it on the table. Next Saturday, Croft Enterprises is celebrating its 30th anniversary. Your mother expects you to be there. He stood, looking down his nose at Leo. And if our roommate here is interested, he's welcome to come see how the other half lives. Eva grabbed the invitation to rip it, but Julian added casually. By the way, I found those old patent files of her father's. Her hand froze. Julian smiled, satisfied, as he walked to the door. He tossed one last comment over his shoulder. Don't be difficult, Ava. You know what your mother is capable of. After the door closed, Eva threw the invitation on the floor and grabbed her coat, storming out. Leo caught her by the arm. Where are you going? To get a drink, she yelled, wrenching her arm free. Don't follow me. Of course, he followed her. He found her in a dark corner booth at a whiskey bar. She'd already finished 3 glasses and was pouring a 4th. Stop, he said, reaching for the glass. None of your business, she snarled, slapping his hand away. The force of the blow sent whiskey sloshing all over her. Leo sighed and handed her a napkin. Eva stared at it for a moment, then laughed, a harsh, broken sound. Leo, you must think I'm pathetic. No. Liar. She lunged forward, her breath hot with whiskey against his face. You all think I'm a bitter, difficult bitch who deserves to be sold off by her own family. Leo's throat went dry. I don't think that. Then what do you think? She demanded, poking a finger in his chest. Tell me. He caught her hand, holding it still. After a long silence, he said quietly, I think you're incredible. Eva froze. You're smarter than me, you're tougher than me, and your vocabulary of insults is far superior to mine, he said, a small smile playing on his lips. So, I don't understand why you listen to them. Eva stared at him for a long time. Then she tilted her head back, drained her glass, and slammed it down on the table. Because I'm a coward, all right? Her voice was raw. After my dad died, she was all I had left. I can't do that to her. Her voice trailed off into a choked sob. Leo's heart clenched. Just then, a sneering voice came from the next table. Well, if it isn't Director Sinclair. Things not working out in the boardroom. So you're trying to bar. Leo turned to see a beefy man eyeing Ava with a slimy grin. Ava didn't even look up. Get lost. The man's face darkened. He stood and walked over. Playing hard to get? I heard you'd do anything for a project, even cozy up to the heir of Croft. Crack. Leo's fist connected squarely with the man's jaw. The bar went silent. Eva slowly looked up from the man on the floor to Leo's clenched fist and blinked. You just hit someone. Leo shook out his stinging hand. Yep. Why? He has a dirty mouth. Ava stared at him for 3 solid seconds, then burst out laughing, tears streaming from her eyes. Leo. She grabbed his shirt, pulling him close until her lips were at his ear, her breath a mix of whiskey and heat. I hate you. Leo froze. I hate you. Her voice softened, and her forehead dropped to his shoulder. For making me feel things. It was 2 in the morning when Leo carried a dead drunk Ava home. She was draped over his back, mumbling, Put me down. I can walk. You almost face-planted in a bush. That was intentional, right? You were using your face as a brake. Eva bit his shoulder in protest. He laid her on the couch and went to the kitchen to make some soup. When he came back, she was fast asleep, her brow furrowed in a troubled frown. He gently placed the bowl on the coffee table and covered her with a blanket. As he turned to leave, he heard her whisper a single heartbreaking word. Dad. Leo's feet stopped. Moonlight streamed through the window, illuminating her face. He impulsively reached out, wanting to smooth the worry from her brow, but pulled his hand back just before he touched her. He walked to his desk, opened a drawer, and pulled out a binder. The cover, a proposal. It was a startup he'd been secretly working on for 6 months, a company focused on revolutionary smart home integration. On the last page, under the section for potential Series A investors, was a single, prominent name, Croft Enterprises. Leo stared at it for a long time before quietly closing the binder. Chapter 6. Truth or Dare. The company retreat was at a posh lakeside resort a few hours outside the city. This year's theme is radical candor. Brenda from HR announced through a small megaphone. So our first activity is truth or dare. Eva was lounging in an armchair in the corner, one long leg crossed over the other, swirling a glass of iced Coke. Her face screamed, Pick me, and you will not see tomorrow. Leo sat across the room, his eyes darting toward her every few seconds. Since the night at the bar, an awkward tension had settled between them, and she'd been subtly avoiding him. The game started. Age of your first kiss, most embarrassing moment, and the mood lightened. Then Mark from marketing drew Eva. The room fell silent. Mark swallowed hard. Director Sinclair, truth or dare? Eva raised her eyes, her red lips curving into a dangerous smile. Dare. Mark looked like he was about to faint. On second thought, maybe just the truth. The room collectively facepalmed. Eva chuckled softly, tapping a nail against her glass. Fine. She scanned the room, her gaze landing on Leo for a fraction of a second before moving on. I have never been in love with anyone. The air turned leaden. Leo's hand tightened around his glass. Why not? Someone asked, clearly having a death wish. Because, Eva drained her Coke, the ice clattering against the glass. The prerequisite is that someone would have to put up with me for 3 years. The words were barely out of her mouth when Leo shot to his feet. The screech of his chair scraping against the floor made everyone turn. I'll take that challenge, he said. His voice was quiet, but it carried across the silent room. The clock starts now. Dead silence. Ava's eyes widened. The glass slipped from her fingers, shattering on the floor. Lisa from PR sucked in a sharp breath and immediately started recording on her phone. Leo stood his ground, the back of his neck burning, but he didn't look away. He thought of her words in the bar. I hate you for making me feel things, and knew if he didn't say this now, he never would. Leo, are you? Ava's voice was unsteady. Out of your goddamn mind. Probably, he said with a small smile. It's been through the ringer with you a few times already. A wave of oohs and ahs rippled through the room. Just then, the main doors of the resort lobby swung open. "Quite a party," Julian Croft said, striding in with two assistants, his sharp suit a stark contrast to the casual resort wear. His eyes took in the shattered glass on the floor and Leo, standing stiffly, a smirk playing on his lips. "Looks like I've arrived at the perfect time." Ava stood up abruptly. "What are you doing here?" "Business," Julian said smoothly, "and I brought you a little gift." He took a folder from his assistant and opened it for everyone to see. It was a copy of the Aurora Tech proposal binder. "Mr. Vance," Julian said, his smile dripping with poison as he looked at Leo, "you got close to Eva for this, didn't you?" The folder was passed around as whispers erupted. So that's what this was about. Getting funding? No wonder he put up with her temper. What a user. Leo stared at the binder. His original copy, the one he kept locked in his desk drawer, the one even Eva had never seen. Eva stood frozen, the color draining from her face. "It's not like that," Leo said, taking a step forward. "That business plan was what?" Eva cut him off, her voice as sharp as broken glass. "A surprise you were planning behind my back? Or an exit strategy you had lined up all along?" She grabbed a wine glass from a nearby table and smashed it on the floor. "Are you done playing your games, you liar?" As she turned and walked away, Leo saw the glint of a tear at the corner of her eye. He didn't follow her. Julian clapped a hand on her shoulder and murmured, "Don't waste your breath. She's always been like this. She'd rather burn it all down herself than give anyone the satisfaction of hurting her." Leo silently bent down and picked up a piece of the wreckage. It was the title page of his proposal. On it, in his own handwriting, were the words, "For the most infuriating and brilliant partner in the world." Outside, the storm that had been brewing all day finally broke. Chapter 7. The Wildcat Chase. Rule number 27. If she runs, you chase. Even to the end of the world. By the time Leo burst into the office, Ava's desk was already cleared out. All that remained was a sad, wilting succulent and a note held down by a coffee mug. "I quit. Don't look for me." The handwriting was a mess, the tale of a lengthy, vicious slash that tore through the paper. Lisa from PR poked her head around the door frame. Director Sinclair came in to pack this morning. She, fed the flowers Julian sent her into the paper shredder." "Julian was here?" Leo spun around. "And he said something else?" "What did he say?" Leo demanded. Lisa gulped. "He said, 'I'll be waiting for you in Iceland.'" Leo slammed his fist into the wall. In the International Departures Terminal, Eva dragged her roller bag toward the security line. Suddenly, the PA system crackled to life with a screech of feedback. "Ahem, testing, testing." She stopped. She knew that voice. Paging passenger Eva Sinclair. Passenger Eva Sinclair. Leo's voice echoed through the massive terminal. "You appear to have lost your copy of the official Eva Sinclair survival guide. We will now begin broadcasting the contents for retrieval." Travelers paused, looking around in confusion. Ava was frozen in place, her knuckles white as she gripped the handle of her suitcase. Leo's voice, now full of theatrical gravity, came over the speakers again. Rule number. She wins every argument. Rule number. The first bite of any dessert is hers. Rule number. If she tells you to get lost, it means hold me tighter. With every rule, her nails dug deeper in her palms. Rule number 26. If she runs away, you have 24 hours to bring her back. The broadcast cut out, followed by the muffled, frantic voices of airport staff. Then Leo's voice, strained as he fought to get back to the microphone, for one last line. Rule number 27. If she runs to Iceland, the PA system went dead with a final, decisive click. Ava's shoulders trembled. She wiped a hand across her face and started walking again. A moment later, she heard the frantic sound of running footsteps behind her. Eva. She didn't turn around, but her pace slowed. "There's a line on the last page of the manual," Leo yelled, panting as he skidded to a stop 10 feet behind her. His voice was hoarse. "All terms and conditions are valid for 100 years. The wheels of her suitcase finally stopped rolling. On the black sand beaches of Iceland, under a gray sky, Ava stood wrapped in a down coat. "Do you have any idea who I came here to see?" she asked, her voice cold. "Julian Croft," Leo said, his breath fogging in the frigid air. And I know he has the patent files from your father's company. The waves crashed against the volcanic shore, a silent, powerful battle. That business plan, it was supposed to be your birthday present, he said softly. Aurora Tech for Eva. Eva whipped her head around to look at him. I've been digging for 3 years. Leo pulled up an encrypted file on his phone. The data from your father's final project was sabotaged, and the person who signed off on it. The screen showed a yellow document. The signature at the bottom belonged to the former CEO of Croft Enterprises, Julian Croft's father. Ava's pupils contracted. They're pressuring you into this marriage because they're terrified you'll find out the truth, Leo said, taking her freezing hand in his. But what I came here to say is whether you choose revenge or you choose to let it go, I will. Shut up, Ava said suddenly, grabbing the front of his jacket. At the airport, why didn't you read more of the rules? Leo stared at her, confused. What about the one that says during thunderstorms, pretend you're not scared of lightning, she demanded, her voice shaking. Or everything she says when she's drunk is the opposite of what she means. Her voice cracked. And the one that says if she bites you, it's actually. Before she could finish, Leo closed the distance between them and kissed her. In the distance, a glacier calved, a monumental sheet of ice crashing into the volcanic sea. Epilogue, the fine print. 2 years later, at the Aurora Tech IPO party, news broke that Julian Croft had been indicted for corporate fraud. Hounded by reporters, Eva confirmed her engagement. It's a nightmare. He's the one who insisted on getting married. Later, Leo showed off a new tattoo on his forearm, a barcode. Scan it, he told a reporter with a grin. It links to the complete, unabridged survival guide.